Hello, Helen. Welcome to this conversation around the course we have just been working on for the past few weeks. Employee Wellbeing Toolkit. It covers so many topics and so many things. Can you at least introduce yourself to people that don't know who you are, and also what your contribution or your part in this course?
Okay, so my name is Helen B. Hicks. With or without the V doesn't matter, but I'm a master's level licensed professional clinical counselor. I have over 30 years of experience in the behavioral health field. The last 16 years, I've owned and operated my own private practice, so I am very skilled in therapy and all things behavior. So, very happy to be a part of this and to contribute my thoughts and my knowledge, my skills into this course to help people as they navigate their career paths.
All right, thank you. What aspect of this course was I know, okay, let me give you some kind of background. The course is meant to be like a huge resource that covers so many aspects of anybody's working life, provided by the employer to try and in ways support the employee, but also as it benefits the employer, right from crisis management to navigating your career to things like how do you, many things like burnout. We spoke about manager empathy and how they suffer sometimes, people, those extending empathy to others, and so on, and so many other topics. We even looked at AI, how you can use AI to support your career in certain aspects, not necessarily look at it as a risk or some kind of threat, and many other topics. Which of these topics stood out to you?
Well, I think there's two that are probably my favorite. And the first one is the career plan, and the second one being the work life integration theory and framework approach. So I guess we can start off with the career plan a little bit. Is
Okay.
I like I really like encouraging people to figure out themselves first. Like what is it you want? What really works with you and for you? And I think, them integrating a career plan helps them to figure that out. I know for a lot of us, wherever we may live, like work is the majority of your life. And so I think it's really important that you're doing something that aligns with who you are as a person and the values that you have in life. And I think people going through that process of identifying a career plan, which means identifying your values. And when you're looking at places to work and you're looking at industries that you want to be in, that you're exploring what are the values associated with those industries and those employers, and how well do you guys mesh? How well do you align in those values? Because how well that alignment is actually there, the better people are going to enjoy their life. If you have to spend the majority of your life in this particular place doing these particular things, they should be things that you value and things
Mhm.
that help you to feel purposeful in what you're doing and why you're doing it. So I think the career plan, starting off with that aspect of, hey, be aware of what your values are and how well those your values align with the values of the industry that you're in, and then more specifically the employer that you're potentially working for. um, but I also like how career plan is also incorporating, but outside of work, what kind of life do you want to have? And
Mhm.
that piece of it really kind of flows into that second aspect that I mentioned of the work life integration framework, which really kind of pulls away from the work life balance framework. And it
Mhm.
really kind of distinguishes it as it's not just about your work and everything being centered around work, and the idea that how much you work has to be perfectly balanced with your life and the things that you're doing in your life, but the idea that this should be more of a flow. Like, sure, there are periods of time in your life where maybe you want to put a lot of time and energy into your career versus other periods and times of your life you may not want that much time and energy going into your career, but at the same time it doesn't mean you don't want to have one. So I really like the integration aspect where it's kind of like this ebb and flow, and it makes it okay for people to kind of go from one side to the other rather than feeling like this pressure of, oh, I have to keep this constant balance. And if I'm not keeping this constant balance, then somehow I'm failing. So I
I
like
see.
pulling away from that.
It's we the world we live in. We need money, and we need to earn it somehow. Many of us have skills or develop skills over the years. So people, yes, we do need to work. Then how does that align with what you do? I guess that's what you're alluding to or you're speaking about, and we covered in the course of say, okay, yes, you need to work, and your circumstances might be one that maybe you have to go away and maybe pick up children, maybe drop off children, maybe make dinner, maybe you have some important family commitments or other commitments or things that matter to you, health appointments, whatever. How is it possible for you to integrate that and work, that there isn't that level of friction? You reduce the amount of friction and you develop some, like you said, flow between the two, where I won't say they're complementary, but in some sense, you're meeting the requirements. Of course, it requires the employer and your colleagues to be. It requires some measure of general acceptance and understanding that that's how things should be done. And I think we mentioned some of these things in the course. I think it's a new it's not new, but it's I think it's provide a lot of advantages to people because people then can take some control, a little bit of control back into how they want to operate and deliver the work. And I know quite a lot of people that utilize that. I really do like that element as well. Another, if I go back a little bit to the career plan career planning element, I know we may touched on something like SMART goals for your career. Maybe SMART is the SMART goals framework that everybody uses. Your specific, measurable, achievable, R is repeatable, and
No,
time bound.
are
R
relevant.
is relevant. Sorry, and time bound, and so on. And that helps you and on an ongoing basis, not just once. You and your career plan becomes a living document. It becomes something you can engage and interact with, and you can update it, drop a few things, emphasize certain aspects as you see fit as your career evolves. It's something that I also gained a lot from or learned a lot from. It doesn't matter whether your career is in corporate or you're working for yourself. I think it's a good thing, a good practice, a good framework to develop in any case, and that gives you some reference points. Maybe every month, every 3 months, you can revisit it. You can have some ideas around how far things are going and adjust as necessary.
Right. I think it's also a good way for people to feel in control of their careers. I mean, I understand there's a lot in the world that we're not in control of,
Yes.
but I think people developing that career plan and really kind of outlining, maybe there are some signs that this particular job isn't working with them or for them, or maybe it's that industry as a whole that's not really working with them or for them. And then they can kind of start mapping that out rather than sitting and waiting for, the worst thing to happen or feeling like they're always at somebody else's mercy, but for them to really take control and to say, hey, this is where I'm at with things. I'm noticing a change for me. So maybe I should be proactive in this.
Yeah, I really enjoyed many elements of it. Now, one element I'll point out is that there's a particular section on the longevity economy, and yes, it's about people living longer and so on and all. Well, it's not solely about that, but we touch on that. But the idea is that at various stages in your career, you can go away and do different things. You can take a career break. You can go. I know someone who's done so many different things, very unrelated types of work, and they've found it a way to make a living all through their careers, or the various careers they've had in one lifetime. Gone are the days when you'd have a job and be there for 30 years, I think. So And many of us are seeing that. And 50 years and you retire, and that's the only job you ever had. I think we're in that place now where we need to have some measure of confidence in ourselves and the skills we have. We also talk about transferable skills, that's another part of a course, and so on, where you can apply those skills into various other things that are worthy enough of a wage, effective or getting paid. And I think I really enjoyed that element as well, where you can go to corporate, work for yourself, maybe visit, go back to corporate, be a consultant, be a coach, be many different things. And what do you think about that particular perspective, or what's your perspective on that particular aspect of the course?
I think that's very accurate. I mean, yeah, staying in a field or a particular job for 50 years is definitely gone. And I think people need that reassurance
Mhm.
that, okay, I've spent 15 years in whatever, and I'm not really feeling this anymore. Is it okay for me to switch lanes now? Or am I too old to switch lanes? Or do I not have enough skills to switch lanes? I mean, and I think that aspect really kind of pulls in how people can use AI to help them, because we do talk about using AI to help you kind of like say, what are my transferable skills? These are the things I have been doing. Like, what other industry can I transfer these skills to, and go and have that second or even third career, explore something different. I think it's really about opening things up to people rather than confining them.
I agree, agree. The AI element was, someone told me recently, I was having a meeting, so and they said that it's sometimes better someone from outside tells you a little bit about yourself. That because there are blind spots you have. There are things you don't ordinarily attribute to what you're doing, or it's so obvious or simple to you, you don't consider it a skill, but other people are looking at it and thinking, I wish I could do that. I wish I could learn how this person does that. And I think that's the aspect, that's how we came at it from the AI perspective to say, could you ask AI to do some skills audit effectively? What are the things I'm good at? You also put some guardrails around it. Make sure you prioritize privacy. Don't put your details on the internet. Don't put your company's details on the internet on any AI platform. Don't put your company details on AI platforms. But you can still query, and we actually put some of the prompts in there for you to actually start with. And again, these are living documents. You're meant to adjust, amend, and tweak them till you get the results you want. And also ask you what are transferable skills, and give it some specifics as to where you want to go with your career where possible. So that was quite interesting. I enjoyed that element as well. So, what would you recommend, or what would you say in general as we round up about everything, all the work we've put in to this particular course, Employee Wellbeing Toolkit? Um, and what will your final words be around that?
I think this is just a way to kind of help people acknowledge that as people, we have so many different dimensions and aspects of our life. And I think this course tries to touch on as many of those as possible to kind of create this cohesiveness, rather than people thinking, well, this part of my life is isolated from this part of my life and this part over here, and I got to keep all these things from touching each other. It's really saying, well, they're already kind of touching each other, even if they're not completely integrated. But how about we just acknowledge that all these aspects of your life touch each other, and they affect each other, and they shift and change what you're doing, how you're doing it, why you're doing it. And it's okay for you to shift with that. It's okay for you to acknowledge that, I was there, now I'm here. And so I need some other things to change because I'm no longer in that spot anymore. So I think this is really talking about not just where people are at, but everywhere that they could possibly go. And then again, on top of that, making it okay. Movement is okay. Change is okay. And there are things that you can do to help yourself be okay in the process of it. So I really think we covered as much as we could.
Thank you very much for all the work and the effort, and thanks to everyone listening and watching. And I enjoy doing this. I enjoy these things, if I'm very honest. So it's a secret pleasure, how they call it, of mine. But thank you, Helen, for your contributions. And
Thank you.
I hope to see you on the next course. So do get the course. It's on Udemy. It's Employee Wellbeing Toolkit.
All
See
right.
you on the next course. Bye.
Bye bye.